Hey everybody, Organizing Secrets here, and I want to welcome you to a new series of mine, the Sonic the Hedgehog Zones Project. Basically, the Zones Project is going to entail me going through the many Sonic games and rating their levels based on a number of criteria that I'll list in a minute. Yes, even the not good ones. God. I even have a few fan-made games that I personally love and want to cover as well, so I hope you don't mind me adding them in. However, I figured that we should first open up with the focus of this inaugural episode, Sonic the Hedgehog 1 for the Sega Genesis. Sonic 1 is the granddaddy of them all, the alpha and the omega, the cats meow, the pups bone, bark, look, it's a big deal. This game's success basically made Sega a valid contender in their dick-slapping contest with Nintendo. But as with many first games in longer series, Sonic 1 sets a bunch of traditions while still lacking certain features introduced in later installments, all while having a unique flavor of its own. Let's dive into the rating system that I'll be using for this, hopefully lengthy series of mine. First of all, before anyone gets sour, these are my personal rankings for the various aspects of these zones and levels. I'm talking about what I like and don't like, and most certainly can't speak for the community as a whole. Unless all of you happen to also be me. I don't think you are. And, feel free to feel differently about these ratings. I mean, you're not gonna hurt my feelings. Hell, tell me your own in the comments. But don't become salty McSaltpants when I happen to like a shit-tier zone and yet snooze on a fan favorite. The rating system itself is pretty simple. Rate things on a scale from 1 to 10. 1 being very, very not good. 5 being an average Andy, and 10 being the bomb diggity. I then take the ratings from everything judged in that level and average them together to find a zone's final rating. Simple, eh? Well, let's make things less simple. While this isn't a ratings-based thing, the first thing I'll do when introducing a zone is to denote what type of zone it is, and also note if it happens to be the first or final level of the game. When I say type, I mean like the general aesthetic of the level. Green Hill Zone is a hills type. Whereas something like Pumpkin Hill would be haunted type. You got anything from water, lava, ruins, etc., and I gotta catch them all. It's mainly to give us an idea of what the area is going to look like and also be useful information down the road. After I finish all this up, maybe I'll make videos comparing all zones of a similar type. Such as comparing all first or final levels, all lava type levels, I mean, you get it. Now, the actual first thing we'll be judging is each zone's music. In some games such as Sonic 1, each zone only has one song to its name, while other games like Sonic 3 or Sonic Colors have multiple songs, those greedy bastards. I love me some Sonic tunes, so expect me to gush quite a bit here. Music is definitely entirely up to my personal opinion though, and I'm afraid this could be one of the categories that may rub you the wrong way. Hey, we just like what we like, okay? I'm allowed to like something, you're allowed to like something different, and we respect it. The next thing visited on our rating journey is a category I call Area. Area is the way a zone looks, but not exactly how it plays. It's entirely about that skin-deep beauty, baby. Basically, a zone can look amazing yet play like shit and still get a good score here. After Area, we have the Gimmick rating. Now, if Area was all about how a zone looks, Gimmick is the exact opposite, and it's how things play. This is where the stage's actual construction comes into effect, as well as where we talk about whatever kooky thing Sega made specifically for that level. Following Gimmick, we have the Enemy rating. This is where we can look at the baddies that populate the levels. While we don't give each individual enemy its own rating, I will be giving my thoughts on each one and then drop a shared enemy rating on you. Naturally, the thing we look at after enemies is the boss rating. We'll take a look at the appearance, uniqueness, and actual funness of the boss and talk about those here. This will be followed by a final score attributed to this category based on how I feel about those things. Also, in some games there is more than one boss per zone, so in that case we'll get multiple boss ratings. Additionally, in some games there is only one boss theme in the game, while in others each boss gets a unique theme. In the case of the former, I'll talk about the one theme when we rate the initial first boss, and in the latter case, we'll get to jam and talk about a new song each boss. So, we've talked about our tunes, our level design, and the things we'll be roughing up in the zone. There's one final category I have to throw at you. That happens to be the fun rating, the intangible feeling of joy that I happen to get when playing a zone. Sometimes a zone with high scores will get a high fun rating, and sometimes, well, I just won't be feeling it. Same goes in reverse. Maybe there's a totally shitty level that I just seem to have a blast playing. This is a wild card category to potentially shake things up a bit. After I hit you with that fun rating, it comes time to add these babies up, average them, and give you the final rating for the zone. I'm really looking forward to how this plays out with which zones score high and low. First up, we have the iconic Green Hill Zone. How iconic is it? So iconic that I'll have to play at least 5 more iterations of it off the top of my head in future games. Oh boy. Oh boy. Seriously though, it's iconic for a reason. Green Hill has look, style, and substance, and definitely set the bar for the series on how to do a solid first level. Green Hill Zone invents the level type that the community has come to call Hills or even Green Hills type. I'll just be referring to it as Hills for brevity. The common theme of Hills type levels is that they are usually set in a natural environment with shorter levels, a lack of enemies, and relatively simple in design. Because of that, Hills type zones often end up being the first level of their respective games, much like Green Hill Zone here. The tunes for Sonic 1 were written by Japanese musician Masato Nakamura. I personally feel that Masato gave the soundtrack a real late 80s pop feel to it, and that definitely shows in Green Hill Zone. We've got that simple driving bass, a solid drum beat, and just fun synths doing fun things. Green Hill is a tune I can't say much bad about because it's so solid in its construction. If anything, it just sorta doesn't stand out compared to some of the music in this game or the greater series. And so Green Hill gets a music rating of 7, which means 7 will get you what I consider a decently alright song. Green Hill kind of becomes the standard to which I compare other good songs. If it's a good song that I like more than Green Hill, then it gets bumped up to an 8 or 9, and if I'm not feeling it, then it probably gets slotted into a 6. Not bad, Green Hill Zone. Not bad at all. We've already gotten a decent look at Green Hill Zone in all this footage, so let's dig into the meat of these visuals. I look at Green Hill and I see a ton of blue, green, and that checkerboard brown. The zone sort of goes for a tropical waterfront look with massive hills in the distance. I never really figured out if that was a large lake or the ocean in the background, but it's quite pleasing to the eye regardless. Green Hill manages to snag yet another 7 when it comes to its area rating. It's a solid design that does little to really jump into the upper echelon for me, but still decent enough that I wanted to put it higher than a 5 or a 6. One thing Green Hill does have going for it is its gimmicks. You got shuttle loops, those little hill tunnel things, a twisting devil thorn bridge of death and destruction, breakable walls, and this rad waterfall section. I mean, fucking look at that. There are also a few spike pits here and there, but nothing too egregious. Most of the spike pits are actually located on one of the lower areas, and if you take the higher paths, you'll avoid it. Green Hill Zone is an area that's made for you to go fast, and that just feels so damn fun. These qualities seem to be enough to give Green Hill a gimmick rating of 8. Definitely one of the things that stand out to me in this zone. Green Hill Zone surprisingly has a large and diverse amount of enemies placed in it for being the first level of a game as well as the Hills type. That said, these baddies aren't too punishing and more or less just lend the zone more flavor. First we have Buzz Bombers. These bee-like motherfuckers will fly right up on you and nail you with some sort of gun they shoot where their stinger should be. I mean, why don't they shoot stingers? Whatever. They're pretty quick, but the startup on their shot should give you enough time to wreck them before they wreck you. Next up are Choppers. These are some fish robots that just jump up and down. They're pretty simple to avoid for the most part, but occasionally sneak up on you. Crab Meats are these rad crab robos that shoot projectiles out of their claws. They aren't too fast or too dangerous or anything, so it's mostly the cool factor they get from being crabs that makes these guys so awesome. Motobugs are these scythe-clawed ladybug bots that cruise around on a tire. These baddies are slow, they're weak, but they do get the distinction of being the first enemy Sonic sees on screen. Get it, Motobug, get you some. Neutrons are the final enemy type encountered in Green Hill, and there are actually 2 types of them. Green neutrons use their chameleon-like camouflage to pop out and try to blast you before disappearing forever. Cowards. The blue neutrons appear and then transform into these rad missiles that jet across the screen. Those guys are seriously cool. Boasting 5 enemy types nets Green Hill a 9 on its enemy rating. They've got style, they've got substance, just not quite enough for that perfect 10. Still an amazing bar set by the first zone, however. And now we get to the boss of Green Hill Zone, Dr. Robotnik in his Eggmobile H. But before that, we need to address the boss theme for Sonic 1. It's a slow, menacing piece that I'd like to think gives Robotnik a real evil setup. It's decidedly a bit more scary than some of the other boss tunes, but nowhere near the nightmare fuel that is Sonic CD's US boss theme. I'm not rating these boss tunes, but I will say that it's a solid tune that could in no way detract from the fights in this game. As for the boss itself, Robotnik pilots his Eggmobile in the H configuration. I have no idea what that H stands for, but maybe it has something to do with that giant-ass disco ball of death he tries to wreck Sonic with. It's a terribly easy fight, but it's still a ton of fun. Even after all these years, I still seem to have a blast fighting the first battle against Robotnik. Eggmobile H, you got yourself an 8. Can't wait to fight you like 4 more times in other games. How fun is Green Hill Zone? How much fun do I have playing the level that started everything off? I'll tell you how much. A metric fuck ton. Green Hill is so much fun to blast through. Seriously. I played through the whole game today to get the footage I needed, and Green Hill was an absolute treat to play and a dream to speed through. There's a reason players try to set speedrun records for this zone. It's just plain good. 10 goddamn points of good. Give it to me, John.
10.
Thanks, Butto. See you for the next perfect score. So after averaging Green Hill's scores together and rounding to the nearest quarter, Green Hill nets itself an 8.25, and you know what? That feels right. It's good, hell, it's great, but Green Hill was never supposed to be the absolute best Sonic level. It's just one of the really good ones, and that's all you can really ask for. Thank you, Green Hill Zone. See you in the Master System version of Sonic 1 when we get there. The zone that follows Green Hill happens to be Marble Zone. This heated level still keeps things in an outdoorsy low-tech feel, but also introduces some pretty cool runes and a few tricky traps. Let's see how Marble Zone holds up to the ratings. Marble Zone is the very first lava-type zone and sets some pretty, well, expected standards. It's got lava, it's got fire, it's hot. Makes sense. Lava zones also tend to feature enemies or bosses that utilize fire attacks and are often set underground or in downtrodden industrial areas. It should also be noted that Marble Zone is also often classified as a runes type zone, but I want to narrow each zone down to the thing that most embodies them for my lists, and for Marble Zone, that happens to be that molten magma mama. Marble Zone actually boasts a really sweet tune. When jamming to this catchy drum beat and the wandering synth, I actually feel more in tune with the runes aspect of the zone as opposed to the lava. That catchy part where the synth starts hitting the good spots of my ear was still enough to land Marble Zone's tune up to a 7.75. This is a jam I wouldn't mind hearing more of. Marble Zone appears to be located amongst ruins deep in a traditional forest. We seem to be a ways from the shores of Green Hill, and that's honestly a good thing. The runes look seriously sweet, there's these cool glyphs in the back walls at times. I'm also a fan of the darkened skies and the mountains deep in the background. The place oozes character to me, and that's enough to net Marble Zone's area rating a solid 8. Great! Now, for a bit of bad news. Marble Zone doesn't exactly play great. I mean, it's got cool ideas. Fireballs that shoot it from the lava, these spike traps, and weight traps that fall from the ceiling. And this really weird possessed lava that I swear must either be haunted by those Casper motherfuckers that are popping out of badniks, or even sentient lava. Spooky. There's also some not as great design choices. These shitty stair spikes like to fuck you when you aren't looking, the fireball mortars are kinda just a bag of dicks, and these long sections where you have to sit around on blocks is just goddamn tedious. Marble Zone does the opposite of Green Hill. It makes you play slow on purpose. Slow! I don't want to play a slow Sonic level. Or rather, a bad slow Sonic level like this one. Luckily, the good gimmicks managed to save Marble Zone a tad and snag it a 6. It's right on the cusp of actually being something that pisses me off, but there's just too much good here for me to be an utter dick about it. Marble Zone also has itself a small gathering of bad boys. Not quite as extensive as Green Hill, but let's get to that villain roll call. Bat Brains are the super cute bat-based robots that cling to the ceiling and then dive bomb when you get a bit close. They then do this adorable flapping animation before eventually returning to the ceiling. They aren't tough, they aren't scary, but I love them. Buzz Bombers are these bee-like Wait a second. These Pachachos were shooting not stingers at me back in Green Hill. Did the swarm just decide to follow me here to Marble Zone? I'm not a huge fan of the reuse in baddies, but I'll let it slide once. The final bad bot you'll find in Marble Zone is the Caterkiller, which may have the best name of all the Sonic 1 baddies. Caterkillers have this annoying thing they do where if you don't land on their head, they'll do damage to you and also break into 4 bouncing projectiles. That's pretty strong stuff for a Caterpillar wannabe. 2 interesting bots in a reused OneNet's Marble Zone A 7.5. I really like the Caterpillar and Bat Brain, so that negates a bit of the ill will I have towards Buzz Bomber getting reused. The good doctor returns in the Eggmobile for our second tussle with him. This time he's attached a tube that douses one of two platforms with lava. Simple, I guess, and also not that difficult. This is a really quick and easy fight with nothing going on and little of the charm that old Eggmobile H had. The flame-shitting Eggmobile gets a 6.5 basically for sticking to the level theme and using lava as an attack. Bravo. So we've had a few ups, several downs as well. This level isn't like Green Hill Zone. Of course, we don't want all levels to be Green Hill, but I just feel like Marble Zone goes too hard in the opposite direction right after Green Hill gave us a fun and speedy time. I hated slowing down in Marble Zone, and yet I still had a fairly okay time going through the level. Marble Zone gets a 5 purely because I don't want to associate how much fun I had playing it in either a positive or a negative light. Could be worse, could be better. For those of you waiting at home for Marble's final rating, I wonder if you worry. Did it do bad? Was Sonic just always bad in this dude's eyes? Does he have a soul? Fear not, viewer of undetermined origin. Marble Zone gets a final rating of 6.75. That means Marble Zone is an okay to decent zone, and I definitely do think it has its merits. However, I also see why Marble Zone isn't getting any remakes or inclusions in future games anytime soon. Next up is Springyard Zone, the token casino fun time level that you're going to see pop up in almost every Sonic game. Springyard has some interesting design choices, but there's a reason for that. From what I've read, Springyard Zone was either the first zone that the team started making, the first one completed, or both. The source wasn't too clear. Either way, that means it's going to be a bit wonkier than other zones, as Sega might not have realized how to make a good level yet. Springyard Zone is classified as an amusement type, which may seem like an interesting level title. For some reason, Sega loves putting levels in festivals, or casinos, or carnivals, or whatever they can make a flashing lights level out of. Amusement zones are often filled with tons of bumpers, springs, weird minigames, and are just bright as hell. Springyard Zone has a bouncing level tune. That bass is going places. There's this weird whining synth in the back, and the driving synth gives off an off-jazz feel. From there, it transitions into this super cute bells section that just makes me want to bounce. I've also read that this tune takes inspiration from a particular Japanese jazz song, so maybe that lends itself to its solid composition. Springyard snags that 7.5. Shit's good, but I can see that background synth wearing on you after a while. Springyard Zone's area and I are on complicated terms. I don't particularly feel strongly about anything in the actual level that Sonic interacts with, besides those cool spinning light alarm things. Everything else just looks like a weird early 90s mess to me, much like the early CGI of the 90s for all the creepy kids shows. That background though, I'm a sucker for 70s, 80s, and 90s styled big cities. Something about how they're always portrayed in games and movies just speaks to a special part of my soul, and that's definitely the case here. I'm in love with the urban sprawl in the background, and the forest coming up to meet the buildings is just rad too. This is topped off with a large mountain range and a dark night sky. This yin and yang of light snags Springyard Zone an area rating of 7.75. Look, that ain't bad considering how neutral I feel on the actual playable area. Springyard's gimmick rating isn't escaping my wrath though, not by a long shot. Let's list the good here. There are very occasionally these cool sections where you get to run downhill, and the zone is actually covered in these hidden areas that have all sorts of goodies in them. I also feel very, very neutral about these platforms that stretch and rotate. Nothing too horrible about that. Now, for the bad. Everything else in this level is made to make sure you don't go anywhere. First of all, those cool downhill sections I mentioned, they often have a damn shit spring ready to fling you back up the hill. Some of them even have giant floating spike balls prepped so you get punished for speeding down them. The optimal thing to do after you've seen these is to just take every hill as slow as possible, just in case you're about to get spiked. Then, there's these little chambers that have a rotating spike stick going through them. I've actually had Sonic get caught on the stick space and it cancel my jump. Fuck off and die, spike stick space. Fuck off and die. Then those big shitballs come back, but float horizontally this time because we gotta make Sonic not move. And then there are these half pipes with a platform in the middle, and those beloved spike balls doing beloved spike ball things. No, I can't go fast. I'm going to add in these fucking bumpers that get placed just to fuck you. And last, but most certainly not least, are these fucking sections where you have to sit in these little compartments and wait for them to rise and fall so you can move up or down. It's like the lava block section from Marble Zone, but somehow made way, way worse. And then sometimes buzz bombers come along and turn it into a shmup when you aren't looking, except you have no room to maneuver. Also, yes, Buzz Bomber is back. Again. We'll get to that. So, this is a weird score for me. I gave it a 4.75 on its gimmick rating. It may seem like I was going to give it much, much worse for how much I dislike the level, but the blow is somewhat softened by how I know this was possibly the first zone ever made. It's bad design to be sure, but they didn't know what was and wasn't going to work at the time. The ideas they did have were unique and interesting, they just didn't play out well at all. Springyard gets a bad score for its gimmick rating, but I'm not going to crucify it for the sins of its ignorant fathers. On to better things with the 4 enemies that make up Springyard Zone. Wait. That's Crab Meat and Buzz Bomber. Again. Motherfucker. Look. They're here. We know what they can do. Let's move on to our new Brobots instead. Spikes is the aptly named spike-topped hermit crab bot. These mothers will poke your hide if you jump on top of them, so the spin dash is about the only way you're getting that cute animal buddy free. Forget Spikes though, because Roller is here. My dudes, Roller is the best. This might be my favorite badnik in Sonic 1. Okay, so story time. Remember that Casper ghost from Marble Zone? Yeah, that's a seal. I know it's a seal. But my older brother told me that the seal was Casper, and so I believed him for many a year. That same older brother also told me that Roller happened to be members of Sonic's family turned into awesome deathbots, and I believed him, thinking I was taking on Sonic's siblings and parents. Look, Rollers are awesome, and are actually armadillos. Just so you know, they're not hedgehogs. They jump and do the spin dash as well though, because they are fucking cool. So the enemy rating gets an 8. I'm not sure if you're surprised or not. Look, I love Roller so much that pretty much saved this zone from Crab Meat and Buzz Bomber returning for an encore. I'd bet that if this zone had no reuses and another original bot, I probably would have given it the ever-valued perfect 10. Doc Botnik is cruising in the Eggmobile once again for this boss rating, and, well, it looks like he took one of the level spikes from the game and shoved it up the lava dispensing pipe from Marble Zone. He kinda just lowers down onto the blocks that make up the floor and one by one crushes them so that the stage becomes full of instant death pits. It's not terribly complicated, but I did like the concept enough to give this Eggmobile variation a 6.75. The fun rating for Springyard Zone. Look, I didn't actually have a good time playing this level, at all. This is the first time I've beaten an area playing Sonic 1 and was just visibly annoyed and equally relieved that it was over. 4.5. 4.5. Once again, I can't kill Springyard for possibly being the first Sonic Zone ever created, but I can't just baby it for the sake of respect either. All the points I made about Marble Zone being slow apply here as well, with additional fuckery added on. So, the ratings are in. Is Springyard a shitty zone? Let's find out. 6.5. Yeah. Okay. I guess I can get behind that. From what I can tell, the music area and enemy ratings must have saved Springyard from an actual bad score. I personally would have been happier to see it getting something in the 5s, but this is my ranking system, and I'm doing it this way to even give myself some surprises. Now, hopefully onto a zone that doesn't stress people out. Oh look, a zone that stresses people the fuck out. But that's only for you folks in the majority. I actually love Labyrinth Zone, like, a lot. A lot. Some people love Sonic levels that use water, and some people hate them. I seem to be a bit wishy-washy, and my stance changes per game, but here in Sonic 1 I am strongly pro-water zone. Fun fact, Labyrinth Zone was apparently supposed to be the second level in the game after Green Hill, but the development team apparently said fuck that when they realized how hard it kicks people in the dick. Labyrinth Zone is the father of all water-type zones, and I suppose that shows here. It's full of water. riveting stuff. Seriously though, these water zones are no joke. You see, Sonic can't swim, so he sinks to the bottom of all bodies of water. He's also not a fish or an amphibian, so you only have a limited amount of time before he bites it. Luckily, water zones usually have air bubbles you can snag to get your drown count reset. It also doesn't help that Sonic's movement becomes extremely hindered in his waterlogged state. He's not moving quickly even if he wanted to. You may have found your foot tapping while I chatted on about Labyrinth Zone thus far. There's a reason for that. Labyrinth boasts the best tune in the whole of Sonic 1. I mean, this was my personal favorite Sonic tune for years, and it's still my favorite jam in Sonic 1. So let's look a bit closer. It's got these little background blips that just remind me of waves and bubbles. That bass is complementing a pure bouncy synth, and that chorus is the stuff of legends. This song makes me happy. 9.75 points worth of happy. Even the haters of Labyrinth Zone still usually concede how good this song is. Labyrinth Zone is set in partially submerged ruins that are apparently located within that mountain range that we've been seeing over the past several levels. These ruins are pretty much a solid brown, so it's really awesome getting the blue and pink crystals to shake things up, as well as the awesome glyphs located all along the walls. Sprinkle in some of those vines or seaweed-like growth as well, and the water changes up the coloration slightly. And you have what I really like for a water zone. 8.5. It's good. It's great. It's Labyrinth. No, not that Labyrinth. It's time for some gimmicks. First thing we're talking about is the water itself. I know I've talked about how much I don't mind water zones, but I should say that Labyrinth Zone took me the longest out of every zone to beat. I would stop at each pile of bubbles and wait to catch my breath. By doing this, I never even approached the drowning point. I didn't even hear the tune, but it sure was a tedious slog. Besides the constant water issue, you have spinning spike balls, Triton Spear looking for some anal play, a classier version of the fireball mortars from Marble Zone, and these admittedly cool conveyor belt contraptions that you get to ride. Oh, and these shitty sneak attack platforms that try to quickly ascend and crush you when you step on them. There are also a couple of water slides that Sonic can slide down, one of which is infinite unless you break the loop, as well as these water tunnels that suck you up. These gimmicks net a rating of 5.75. They aren't to the point where I want to slot this rating into the negative side of the scale, but there's actually not that much going on that wasn't done in a previous level besides the sorta subpar water stuff and the conveyor belts. We finally get to a zone that has an entirely fresh batch of bad dudes with attitudes. There are no familiar faces here, so let's just meet the enemy head on. Burrow bots are probably the most common enemy found in Labyrinth Zone, and these dudes are actually pretty sweet. You see, since they're based on moles, they lurk just underground, and then they try to sneak attack you. Too bad they can't cover themselves up completely. Jaws are the second badnik found in Labyrinth Zone, and they somehow actually managed to be a fish-based bot that does less than Chopper from Green Hill Zone. They lazily float in a direction, and that's it. I mean, they are cool looking, but a little initiative goes a long way, boys. The final rowdy rough bot you'll find lurking in Labyrinth Zone is Unidasu from the Orbonauts series of badniks. Unidasu is based on a sea urchin, and this spherical baddie will whip those spikes at you in a hurry. Unfortunately for Unidasu, this leaves it opening for you to wreck. These new bots net Labyrinth Zone an enemy rating of 8.75. I liked what I saw, and there was enough new here to justify the high score. As for the boss of Labyrinth, well, there really isn't one in a traditional sense. I mean, Robotnik is here, and he is in the Eggmobile, but all he's doing is flying through a trap-filled area while you try to outrace the water. Hell, you don't even need to hit him once to beat this, just get to the end without drowning. You know, the same thing you've been doing the entire zone. So yeah, they tried something new, I guess. And I do respect that, with a very, very neutral 5. Labyrinth Zone's fun rating for most people would probably be quite low. I, however, definitely still had a blast trying not to drown, and just sorta enjoying the level despite all its faults and clunkiness. I give it a 7 for the stupid grin I had on my face, even if things did seem to drag on just a bit too long. I remember saying back in Marble Zone that it was a bad slow level. I don't want to play a slow Sonic level, or rather, a bad slow Sonic level like this one. See, totally said that. Labyrinth Zone to me feels more like a good slow level, or as good as a slow level can be. I still wish I was speeding along, but at least the level forces you to play slow with its water physics. Let's see what the dreaded Labyrinth Zone managed to snag for a final rating. 7.5? Yeah, 7.5. I'm okay with that. I kinda wanted it to be a bit better, but I think the boss rating and gimmick rating hurt it a bit. But to me, Labyrinth Zone definitely is a good level, maybe just not quite great. Speaking of great levels... Oh look, that wasn't another joke. There actually is a great level up next. Starlight Zone is amazing. It's interesting in that it's a fair bit easier than the previous 3 zones, but boy is it a damn treat to play. Once again, I'm in a zone that wants me to go fast, and the tunes and visuals are really up to snuff as well. The only additional trivia I have is that this was originally supposed to be the 4th zone overall. Starlight Zone becomes numero uno of the urban type zones. As the name implies, urban zones take place in or above cities and usually incorporate sharp twists and tons of speed sections, making them the highlight of whatever game they appear in. Okay, you hear the music, I hear the music, the Genesis hears the music. This tune is stupid good, stupid catchy, and stupid relaxing. While I'll give Labyrinth Zone the edge in better song, Starlight may actually be way easier on the ears, and that chorus section, fuck. I want me some of that. It may just be the soft instruments speaking, but I'm sure you'll all nod along to the 9.25 that Starlight Zone earns for its tunage. Alright dudes, we talked about how much I loved old cities, and Starlight is that to a fucking T. Look at the city in the distance, it's fucking rad! Then you go to the lower levels and you really get to see the buildings up close. Oh, fun fact, Starlight Zone is the only zone in the Sonic 1 to have sprites in the foreground, like with the light posts. I'm also a huge fan of how serene the actual interactable level looks. I feel like I would just lounge on Starlight Zone for a night and look at the stars. Speaking of star, that skybox. Holy shit. Holy fucking hell. This may be where all the money for the zone went. Give it a 10. Where's John? John? 10. Starlight Zone is a relatively easy place as long as you stick to the upper path. If you stray down closer to the city, then that means you'll have to contend with a shit ton of bottomless pits. The upper sections of Starlight Zone basically exist to let you go faster, and that's what I'm all about. Starlight has those fireball mortars reappear in a slightly more modern skin. Be careful not to get caught in the crossfire. There's these damn fans that push you to one side of the screen or the other, often blocking progress for that route. Loop-de-loops all over the place. Starlight loves it some loops. There's these seesaws that you have to work with if you want to get to the higher sections of the zone. Oh, and this big-ass swinging spike ball that apparently got cut in half at some point. It scared the shit out of me the first time I saw it. This hectic amount of fun times nets Starlight Zone an 8 for its gimmick rating, despite reusing a few gimmicks from prior levels. Starlight Zone brings 2 new enemy types to the table, although one of them is sort of a familiar face. First up, we have Bomb. Yes, Bomb. I didn't name the thing, okay? All Bomb does is walk around and then charge itself to blow up. The explosion sends out a bunch of projectiles, though, so these dudes can actually lay down the pain in their own weird way. I bet you thought it was weird when I was talking about Unidasu being an Orbinaut variation back in Labyrinth Zone. That's because Uni here is the other variation. It's pretty much just a recolored and chilled out version of the sea urchin based bot that lazily floats forward and decides to keep all its spike balls for the ultimate defense. That means it's usually a much better idea to just let Uni do its own thing and be on your way. So Uni technically is its own badnik, although just barely, and Bomb is kinda okay, I guess. This drags Starlight Zone to an enemy rating of 6.75. It's almost solidly good, but Uni and Bomb needed to put in just a tad more effort than not at all to get into that higher tier. The boss for Starlight Zone has Dr. Robotnik once again jumping into that Eggmobile for another trouncing. This time he's trapped Sonic in an area with 3 seesaws and is dropping exploding spike balls onto them. Unfortunately for him, Sonic can either launch the balls back at him or even use the ball's momentum to launch himself back up. This isn't a crazy difficult boss, but man do I love how they use the level's gimmick to make something unique. Starlight Zone's Eggmobile launches itself to an 8.75 as one of my favorite bosses of the game. Look, I've probably been doing a poor job concealing how much fun I had and how much I love this zone. After 3 areas that did everything they could to restrict my speed, Starlight Zone just becomes that sweet, sweet release for my speed boner. 10. Wait, 10? Shit, John, we get a double. Double 10.
10.
There's no doubt that Starlight Zone's final rating is going to be a good one. 2 10s and a bunch of other high ratings must be a good outcome, right? Well, 8.75. Sure, this is easily the highest we've seen yet, but I'm surprised it didn't break 9. Starlight Zone is amazing, but I guess the enemies just get the better of it hitting that next level. Still, 8.75 is great. Starlight Zone, you are undeniably a fantastic zone. Thank you for letting me run around inside you with reckless abandon. Holy shit! We've made it to the final full zone. We made it to Scrap Brain Zone, the large and first of Robotnik's many fortresses that we'll be penetrating across the series. As the final 3-act zone in the game, we can expect Scrap Brain to pull bullshit and really put the pedal to the metal. But let's see if Scrap Brain can survive my rankings. My one bit of trivia is that Scrap Brain Zone is the only zone in Sonic 1 that lacks a boss fight. Sorta. You'll see. Scrap Brain is the first of many, many industrial-type zones. These zones are usually reserved for fortresses or dangerous areas, and are therefore usually encountered at the end of their respective game. Electrical hazards, conveyor belts, and saw blades are common hazards found among the various industrial zones. Scrap Brain's tune is oddly good? I wouldn't have thought that the big bad level towards the end of the game would have such a fun and whimsical tune. Sure, it starts a bit menacing with those sci-fi synths, the lab bleeps, and those heavy drum slams, but then you get to the chorus and I feel like I'm hanging out in the Jetsons or something. It just gets so airy, spacey. I hope I'm sort of conveying what I mean. This song is sneaky fun and I love it enough to give it an 8.5. Good song is good. Okay, so check this. Scrap Brain doesn't have just 1, but 3 different looks that change between each act. Isn't that rad? Oh, wait. The 3rd act is just a recolored labyrinth zone. Okay, so 2 out of 3. That's still 1 more area than every other zone gave us. Scrap Brain's first act starts with us outside the base, going through a factory-filled and smog-laden path. There's evil glowing red lights everywhere and enough robotic shit to shake a stick at. There are parts of the level that appear to go indoors for a brief second, but Act 1 firmly keeps to its cool evil red outdoors background when it can. Scrap Brain's second act has you finally entering the Scrap Brain proper, and it looks like exactly where you'd think Robotnik chills. There's pipes and blinking lights everywhere, as well as strange machinery that does who knows what. And yes, Act 3 is a poison-themed labyrinth zone. We'll talk about that later. Between the 2 acts that actually have new stuff to look at, I'm going to give Scrap Brain an area rating of 9.25. Both acts look really freaking awesome, and not even the reuse of Labyrinth Zone for the 3rd act can fuck that up. Oh, the gimmicks. Oh. Yeah, give me a sec, just gotta suppress that trauma. Suppress it, damn it! And we're good. Let's talk about how wrecked I got. As befitting the big bad base of the game, Scrap Brain has kick your teeth in hard level design, and the various features of all the acts are there to kill you, and then kill you harder. Act 3 is its own beast, however. Suppress? Act 1 introduces us to these shitty red trap doors that usually lead to death or super death. There's these cool piston twisty thingies that Sonic can roll into. Then there's this section where these weird metal prong things push you all around. It scares the shit out of me since I'm always ready for them to crush me. Vanishing and unvanishing blocks make things way trickier than they need to be and remind me of shit right out of Kid Chameleon, which makes sense, I think. I'm pretty sure some of this development team went to work on that game next. Twisty platforms on conveyor belts make up the next super friendly feature. Yay! Ooh, here's these electro orbs that shoot out electricity to fry your ass, and they are even sometimes paired up with these broken pipes that spew fire. Kid friendly, mom approved. Act 2 introduces some spinning cogs that are a slight nightmare to navigate. It does have these cool pipes that shoot Sonic through the level though. Let's count that as a positive. Oh, look at this conveyor belt saw blade combination. Fucking genius. Beautiful. Nothing tricky about this at all. Nuh-uh. Nope. Wait, what the fuck was that? Did that saw blade just chase me? Oh cool, a haunted metal crate. Ah, and our ever-present ally, Swinging Spike Chainball, is back. Glad he could make it. Just wouldn't be the same. After that, Robotnik gives you the old trapdoor song and dance, and we're on to Act 3. Okay, so Act 3 has this cool column platform that you ride, and that's it. I don't want to talk about it. All these bullshit gimmicks could give this zone a shitty score, but you know what? It's the big test before the final stage, that final confrontation, and I'm feeling the challenge. 8.25, because holy shit did a lot of stuff beat the hell out of me. Scrapbrain brings one new porker to the frying pan and reuses some old friends. Let's see who showed up to watch me get nailed by traps. Ah, Caterkiller. Butto. You made it. Why the fuck are you here? I haven't seen you dudes since Marble Zone. Did you take a damn shuttle bus to beat me here? Bomb also makes an appearance on the stage, though they feel a bit more in tune with the level. They kinda match it aesthetically, and I actually have no qualm with them shooting their load on Scrapbrain. Also, everyone from Labyrinth Zone is back for Act 3. Suppress. Our new friendo is Ballhog, and I think he beat Caterkiller for the new best named badnik in Sonic 1. Ballhog is a pig-based robot that stands at the top of ramps and tosses bombs down them. They're cheeky fuckers, and I love watching them get what they deserve. Scrapbrain's enemy rating is 7.25. Ballhog is really cool, and Bomb somehow makes more sense being in this level as opposed to Starlight Zone. The Labyrinth Zone enemies are where they should be, in hell, and Caterkiller is the only weird one here. Okay. Unsuppress. So, you know how I didn't want to talk about Scrapbrain Act 3? There's a reason for that. I spent that whole level drowning, and also dying, and also losing all my continues and getting a game over, and also having to use the level select cheat so I could get back to it and try again without curling up in the bathroom and sobbing my eyes out because I'll never get the validation that I crave from beating Sonic 1 because fuck this zone. Mommy. It gets a 3. Act 3 was bad enough to have me give it a 3. Acts 1 and 2 were already tough, but I felt good beating them. 3 just kicked me in the dick and took my lunch money and all my limited edition figurines. Probably took them out of the box too. So enjoy that shitty fun rating, you bastard. Now that the trauma is out of my system, let's see what Scrapbrain got as a final rating. 7.25. Yeah. Okay. I guess the music and appearance were good enough to bump it up over Marble and Springyard, even if just barely. Okay, dudes. I'm feeling funky fresh and ready to take on anything. I don't care how hard this final boss is or how cool his level is, I'm going to beat him. Alright, here we are, the final zone, the end of the game, and wait, this is just Scrapbrain Act 2. Come on! Being set in the same area as Scrapbrain's second act means this is an industrial type as well. Everything I said about Scrapbrain a couple of minutes ago applies here as well. The music is fine, I guess. It sort of just sounds like a slightly more evil version of the regular boss theme, and like they suddenly realized they had the drums from Scrapbrain Zone to use for it. I'll give it a 6. It's certainly not average, but I was left wanting way more. Same goes for the area, it's just Scrapbrain Act 2. Sure, it looks good, but this reuse is no bueno. I'm giving this 6 because Scrapbrain looks good and I can't bring myself to hate on it here. On to the boss fight. Surely this will be good. No? Oh. Robotnik ditches the Eggmobile in favor of trying to crush Sonic with 2 pistons at a time, followed by some Electro Balls. The good doctor is always in one of the 2 pistons, so nail him a few times and he's done. Man, 4.5. This is a serious letdown. Almost feels like Scrapbrain Act 3 was the true final boss. The fight is as boring as it looks. Move out of the way, hit the Robotnik piston, find the gap in between the Electro Balls, stand there, repeat. 4.5 for fun. God damn it. Well, with this drop ball, Final Zone ends itself on a 5.25, the worst rating in Sonic 1. Congratulations. And even after all that, I still had a good time. Hell, I had a great time. We beat Sonic 1. Yes! Put that first notch in our belt because we have a long journey ahead of us. Before we get to that though, let's recap the final rating of each zone from worst to best. Bringing up the rear is the super disappointing Final Zone at 5.25. This isn't the final level that we deserved. Spoiler alert, they get a lot better. After that, Springyard Zone manages to be an okay level that just had a ton wrong with it at 6.5. Barely sneaking in front of it is Marble Zone at a 6.75. These 2 stages made for a shitty back-to-back combo, but still managed to have some charm. Scrap Brain Zone succeeds in spite of itself with a good 7.25. That's a decent number considering its fun rating at the lowest single score of Sonic 1 at a 3. Labyrinth Zone shows us that maybe water levels can be okay if they have really good music though. That 7.5 that it managed to accrue is solid stuff. At 8.25, Green Hill Zone is letting you know that it's a good level for a reason. Everything pretty much went right with this one and set the gold standard on first Sonic levels. However, the lead for Sonic 1 went to Starlight Zone at 8.75, almost touching the ceiling Starlight dreamt to touch the very stars it was named after and almost made it too. Maybe next time, my sweet prince. I still can't believe we're here, at the end of the game and at the end of the video. I worked on it chronologically, so seeing that it's an hour long is making me real nervous to work on all the longer games that follow this one. Maybe I'll be breaking some games into parts. The next game is either going to be Sonic 1 for the Master System, or I may jump to Genesis version of Sonic 2. Chances are I'll be working on them both at the same time, and we'll see which I finish first. Thanks for following along for the first episode of the Sonic the Hedgehog Zone project. If you liked what you saw, please show a friend or just tell me it was rad. I feel this is a solid, if slightly dumb video that just shows how much I really do love Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm hoping to see you here next time. Stay safe, this is Organizing Secrets.